My name is Daniel. I grew up in a small town with very little money. My father worked in a factory, and my mother washed clothes for other people. Many kids in school laughed at me because my shoes were old and my lunch was simple. But the one who hurt me most was Clara. She was the prettiest girl in our school, and she always called me poor boy. I liked her in secret, but she never saw me as a person. She only saw my old clothes. One day, she said in front of the whole class, "Daniel will never be rich. He is just dust." Those words cut my heart like a knife, and I promised myself I would never forget. After school, I worked hard. I cleaned tables in a cafe. I carried boxes in the market. I saved every small coin I earned. At night, I studied books about business and money. People thought I was wasting my time, but I believed in my dream. I wanted to prove that a poor boy could rise high. Years passed, and I moved to the city. Life there was not easy, but I did not give up. I started selling simple things online. First, it was used phones. Then, it was small gadgets. Slowly, I built a small business. My life began to change, and I felt hope grow inside me again. One day, I went back to my hometown for a wedding. Everyone in town looked at me with surprise because now I wore clean clothes and drove a small car. But Clara was also there. She looked at me with cold eyes and whispered to her friends, "Look, it is still the poor boy. He just acts rich now." Her words hurt me again, but this time I did not reply. I only smiled because deep inside I knew my journey was only starting. I still had a long way to go, and one day the same Clara who laughed at me would see who I had become. In the city, my business grew fast. I learned how to invest in small shops and buy land when prices were low. I never wasted money on showing off. I kept working day and night, eating simple food and saving everything. After a few years, I owned 3 shops, 2 houses, and a big office. People started to respect me. They called me Mr. Daniel instead of poor boy. Inside, I remembered Clara's face and her cruel words. I wanted to meet her again, not to hurt her, but to show her how far life had brought me. I wanted her to see that dreams can change dust into diamonds. One morning, I got a call from a big hotel owner. He said a new company wanted investors for a fashion store inside the hotel. I was curious and went to the meeting. When I entered the room, my heart jumped. Clara was there. She had grown older, but her beauty was still there. She was the manager of the new fashion store. She smiled at me but did not recognize me at first. Then she looked closer and whispered, "Daniel, is it really you?" I nodded. Her face turned red. For the first time, she saw me not as a poor boy, but as a man who now had power and money in his hands. Clara stood in front of everyone and spoke proudly about her new project. She said they needed investors, and she promised high returns. After the meeting, she came to me with a sweet smile. "Daniel, you have changed so much. You are successful now. I think you and I can work together." Her voice was soft, very different from the sharp words she once used. I looked at her carefully. She wanted my money. She needed my support. Inside me, I felt both pain and power. The same girl who once laughed at me was now standing in front of me, hoping I would say yes. That night, I thought deeply. Part of me wanted revenge. I wanted to say no and walk away, but another part of me remembered my promise to rise, to prove myself. I decided not to show anger. I decided to be wise. The next day, I told Clara, I am interested, but I have conditions. Her eyes lit up. She thought she had won. She did not know that this game was mine now. I would not give money easily. If I was to invest, I would own half of her project. She was shocked. She tried to argue, but she needed me. Finally, she agreed. Weeks passed, and the fashion store opened. Because of my money and planning, it became a success. Customers filled the shop, and profits grew. People praised Clara, but she knew in her heart the real power came from me. Slowly, she began to act sweet, always trying to impress me. She called me, invited me for dinners, and smiled at me like never before. But I remembered every cruel word from our school days. I enjoyed watching her change. She once called me dust, but now she looked at me as if I was gold. It was strange, and it gave me a secret satisfaction. One day, the hotel called a special event to honor new investors. They gave me an award on the stage. The whole room clapped, and Clara sat in the front row, watching me with wide eyes. I gave a short speech. In life, people may call you poor. They may laugh at your dreams. But if you work hard, one day those same people will respect you. I did not say her name, but she knew I was speaking about her. She lowered her eyes, and I felt a wave of victory. I had taken back my pride, and more. After the award night, Clara began to call me more often. She said, "Daniel, you are so smart. I respect you." Sometimes she even touched my arm when we talked. Long ago, she had laughed at me in front of her friends. Now, she was trying to be close. I listened, but stayed calm. I knew her heart was not with me. It was with my money. One evening, she asked me to come to her office. She poured me tea and whispered, "Daniel, we could be more than business partners. You and I. We could share everything." My heart beat fast, but I only smiled. At that moment, I remembered my past. I saw myself as a boy, standing outside the shop, holding cheap clothes, while she called me poor. That memory saved me. I looked at her and said softly, "Clara, everything I have now, I built with pain and work. I don't forget the words that shaped me." She tried to laugh, saying she was young and foolish back then. But I could see fear in her eyes. She knew I had power over her future now. She wanted me, but she could not erase the truth of her past cruelty. The store kept growing, but Clara started losing her control. She borrowed money without telling me. One day, I found out she had used the company's cash for her personal life. I called her into a meeting room. "Clara, you broke the rules," I said firmly. She tried to cry. "Daniel, please forgive me. I had no choice." I looked at her tears, but did not feel soft. This was not about love. This was business and respect. I told her clearly, "From today, I will take full control. You will step back." Her lips shook, but she had no choice. Soon, people in the hotel started talking. They said the fashion store was now mine. They said Clara had lost her place. I saw her walking alone, her eyes tired, her smile gone. Once she was the queen of the school, who called me poor. Now she stood as a worker under my shadow. Nights, she called me, asking if we could meet. But I did not answer. I had taken everything back, my pride, my respect, and now her dream. I had no hate, only a strange peace in my heart. Life had given me justice in its own way. One morning, Clara came to my office. She wore simple clothes, no makeup, nothing like the girl I once knew. She sat across from me and whispered, "Daniel, I was wrong. I should not have treated you like that. I lost everything, and you gained everything. Please, forgive me." For the first time, I felt her words were true. She was no longer proud or fake. She was broken. I nodded slowly. "Clara, I forgave you long ago, but I will never forget." She looked at me with tears, then walked away, her steps heavy, her pride left behind forever. Years later, my business empire grew across many cities. But sometimes, when I passed a mirror, I remembered that boy with old shoes and hungry dreams. Clara's voice still echoed in my memory. "You are poor." But now I smiled, because her words had become my fuel. She once left me with shame, but I returned owning her house, her dream, her respect. This was not just revenge, it was my victory. And so, my story became a lesson. If someone calls you poor today, rise so high that tomorrow they will beg to stand in your shadow.